You think having no support is your disadvantage. But it may be the only reason no one will own you later. Nobody believed in you. Nobody opened the door. Nobody protected your early mistakes. Nobody made the call that could have changed your life faster. And for a long time, you may have looked at that silence as proof that you were behind. But listen carefully. The man who gets lifted often inherits invisible debt. The family that funds him may expect control. The mentor who opens one door may expect obedience. The network that gives access may later demand loyalty. The friend who helps once may speak forever, as if your future requires his approval. Support can lift you, but support can also own you. So if no one helped you build it, no one owns a piece of it. If no one lifted you up, no one gets to claim the throne. At first, having no support feels like punishment. You look around and see men with family money, better connections, easier introductions, safer environments, and people protecting them from the consequences of their own ignorance. They fail and someone catches them. They hesitate and someone guides them. They ask and someone answers. They fall and someone softens the impact. And yes, sometimes that is an advantage. Do not lie to yourself. Support can make the climb faster. Support can open rooms. Support can reduce pressure. Support can protect a man while he is still weak, confused, and unformed. But here is the part most men do not see. Support is rarely free, not always financially. Sometimes the debt is much deeper than money. It becomes emotional debt, social debt, identity debt, expectation debt. The person who lifted you may later believe they have a right to influence where you go. The person who introduced you may later expect permanent loyalty. The person who gave you money may later treat your ambition like family property. The person who helped you once may remind you forever that you were not self-made. This is how ownership hides inside generosity. They may not call it control. They call it advice. They call it concern. They call it gratitude. They call it loyalty. They call it remembering where you came from. But underneath the soft language, the message is simple. I helped create this, so I deserve influence over it. That is the hidden cost of being rescued. When someone builds the bridge for you, they often expect to control where you walk. When someone gives you the key, they often expect access to the room. When someone lifts you up, they may later remind you who gave you height. This is not always evil, it is human nature. People remember what they gave. Many people give with invisible strings attached. And when success finally comes, they do not see your nights, your discipline, your pressure, your sacrifice, or the private battles you fought alone. They see the one door they opened, the one check they wrote, the one conversation they had, and they build a claim around it. That is the price many supported men pay. They rise faster, but they carry claims. They receive help, but inherit expectations. They gain access, but may lose sovereignty. This is why zero support, if you survive it, becomes a brutal form of freedom. Because if no one believed early, no one can say their belief made you. If no one funded the beginning, no one can use money as a leash. If no one opened the door, no one can stand at the door later claiming authority. If no one carried the weight, no one can command the direction. Zero support means zero masters. That is not comfort. That is not softness. That is not a motivational slogan. It is a cold reality. You may start alone. You may suffer more. You may learn through pressure instead of protection. You may build slower. You may become harder earlier than other men. But the throne you build alone belongs to you. No one can say, you owe me your obedience. No one can say, you are only here because of me. No one can say, I made you. No one can say, remember who opened the door. Because they did not open it. You did. And the man who opens his own door becomes different from the man who waits outside until someone lets him in. The unsupported man is forced to mature faster, not because he is special, not because the universe chose him, not because pain automatically makes a man powerful. Pain does not make every man powerful. Some men become bitter. Some men become passive. Some men spend 10 years explaining who failed them while building nothing strong enough to change their position. The unsupported man only becomes dangerous when he converts abandonment into structure. If he does not wake himself, no one wakes him. If he does not learn, no one teaches him. If he does not build proof, no one trusts him. If he does not protect his money, no one rescues him when pressure arrives. If he does not create market value, no one pays him because they feel sorry for him. If he does not become disciplined, the world consumes him. This is the furnace. Supported men may have mentors. Unsupported men have consequences. Consequences are harsh teachers, but they are honest. They teach without pity. They teach that talk does not pay. They teach that potential means nothing until it becomes proof. They teach that discipline is not optional when there is no external rescue. They teach that money is oxygen. They teach that trust must be earned. They teach that nobody owes you a place in the room. This is why unsupported men, if they do not collapse, develop a dangerous kind of clarity. They stop expecting fairness. They stop expecting applause. They stop expecting permission. They stop expecting people to understand the mission before the results exist. They begin to see the world as it is, not as children wish it to be. And Machiavelli's world was always this way. Power respects results. People follow strength. Support moves toward momentum. Men speak of loyalty, but most move toward advantage. Human gratitude is fragile. Borrowed power is unstable. A man who rises only through the hands of others often stands under the shadow of those hands. This does not mean you hate people, it means you stop being naive. The unsupported man must build from reality, not fantasy. And reality says this: if you bring no value, you will be ignored. If you bring no proof, you will not be trusted. If you bring no skill, you will remain dependent. If you bring no leverage, you will negotiate from weakness. So build leverage alone. Do not sit around waiting for support and calling it strategy. Do not keep saying, if only someone helped me. Do not build your identity around who failed to show up. That may be true, but truth can still become poison if it keeps you passive. The question is not, who did not help me? The question is, what can I build so help becomes optional? That is the shift. Build skill. Skill is not self-improvement. Skill is how a man becomes harder to threaten. The more value you can create on command, the fewer people can use survival against you. A man with skill is harder to ignore because he can create value. He can write, sell, edit, design, build systems, generate leads, craft offers, produce content, improve messages, solve problems, create outcomes that other people want badly enough to pay for. Without skill, he needs support. With skill, he can create value. With value, he can create proof. With proof, he can create trust. With trust, he can create money. With money, he can create options. With options, he becomes harder to control. This is the chain of sovereignty. Skill is not just a way to make money. It is a weapon against being owned. If you are serious about this path, understand something. Watching videos is not transformation. Consuming harsh truths is not the same as building power. Many men listen, feel stronger for an hour, then return to the same weak patterns. If you continue like that, your life will become a museum of ideas you admired but never embodied. Inside Patreon, I go deeper into the principles behind sovereignty, leverage, discipline, and the kind of thinking that cannot be given to the casual viewer. This is for men who are not here to be entertained. It is for men who want to rebuild the way they move, decide, and command their own life. The decision is yours. Power is not in asking. Power is in making a man choose what strengthens him. Build proof. Proof is how the unsupported man replaces inherited trust. A supported man may enter the room through borrowed reputation. Someone vouches for him. Someone introduces him. Someone says, "Trust him." The unsupported man often has no such luxury, so his proof must speak before he does. Samples, results, case studies, before and after breakdowns, public work, a clear portfolio, visible evidence. He cannot ask the world to trust his potential. He must build evidence so strong that doubt becomes expensive. Proof removes the need to beg. Proof says, "Look." Proof says, "Inspect this." Proof says, "I can do the work." Proof says, "I have already moved without permission." That is leverage. Build money. Money is not just status. Money is not just luxury. Money is not just luxury. Money is not just comfort. Money is protection. Money is oxygen. Money is the ability to say no when the room becomes poisonous. Money is the ability to leave when respect disappears. Money is the ability to survive slow seasons without crawling back to people who want you dependent. A man with no money is easy to pressure. He may speak about freedom, but if one bill can make him surrender, he is not free yet. If one emergency can send him back to the same people who belittle him, he is not free yet. If one missed payment can make him accept disrespect, he is not free yet. This is why the unsupported man must respect financial oxygen. Know your survival number. Know what it costs to keep yourself alive, stable, and moving. Cut status expenses. Stop spending to impress people who did not help you build. Stop buying symbols of escape before escape is real. Build a buffer. Reinvest early income. Track every dollar until your money stops leaking through emotional weakness. The first money is not for showing the world you made it. The first money is for making sure you cannot be dragged backward. A weak man earns and spends to feel powerful. A strategic man earns and converts money into leverage. Better tools, better skills, better proof, better lead sources, better production speed, more oxygen, more auctions, less dependence. That is how money becomes sovereignty. You must understand this clearly. Poverty is not noble when it makes you controllable. Struggle is not sacred when it keeps you begging. Being unsupported does not give you permission to be careless. It gives you a command to become precise. Because the world does not care how hard it was for you. It cares what you can produce. It cares what you can solve. It cares what risk you can remove. It cares what outcome you can create. This is where many men become angry. They want the world to recognize their pain before they have created proof. They want people to respect their potential before potential has become visible. They want applause for carrying weight in silence. But power does not move toward suffering. Power moves toward value. So do not make your wound your identity. Use it as fuel, then outgrow it. Build reputation. If no one knows you, you are not mysterious. You are invisible. If no one understands what you do, you are not complex. You are unclear. If no one trusts you, you may not be oppressed. You may simply have no visible proof. This is hard to hear. Good. The unsupported man must make value visible. Do not beg people to believe you. Manufacture public proof. Let your work appear so consistently that strangers begin trusting your competence before they ever hear your voice. Reputation is not attention. Reputation is preloaded trust. When people repeatedly see your thinking, your work, your standards, your results, and your discipline, trust begins before the conversation. Your name starts carrying weight. Your work starts moving without you. Your proof starts entering rooms before you do. That is power. Personal brand is not about being admired. It is not about vanity. It is not about posting your feelings and waiting for strangers to validate your existence. It is about creating public evidence that you are useful, consistent, and difficult to dismiss. A man with no reputation must explain himself from zero every time. A man with reputation enters the conversation with weight already attached to his name. That is the difference. This is why you must stop hiding behind the fantasy that good work always speaks for itself. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes the world is too loud. Sometimes the room is already full of men who are less capable but more visible. Sometimes the person with better proof loses to the person with better positioning. Machiavelli understood that appearance matters because men judge from what they can see. They do not inspect your soul. They do not study your private discipline. They do not reward the work they never encounter. So make the work visible, not to beg for applause. To control the evidence. Show what you know. Show what you are building. Show the problems you solve. Show the standards you live by. Show the transformation you create. Show the proof that you are not waiting to be chosen. The unsupported man cannot rely on inherited trust. He must become undeniable through repeated evidence. Build options. This is the final form of leverage. A man with no options is controlled by whoever gives him one. One job, one client, one relationship, one gatekeeper, one source of income, one social circle, one path. That is not freedom. That is a narrow bridge. And anyone who controls that bridge can control your behavior. If you have only one client, you will tolerate disrespect. If you have only one income source, you will fear every disruption. If you have only one relationship that gives you emotional oxygen, you will call attachment loyalty even when it weakens you. If you have only one gatekeeper, you will confuse permission with opportunity. Options are created through skill, proof, money, reputation, and market contact. The more options you have, the less fear rules you. You can leave, you can choose, you can negotiate, you can refuse disrespect, you can survive delay, you can lose one opportunity without losing yourself. The moment you build options, disrespect becomes optional. This is what zero support is supposed to teach you. Not hatred, not bitterness, not emotional isolation forever. Not the childish pride of saying, "I need nobody." That is not power. That is often just pain wearing armor. You are not building alone so you can remain alone forever. You are building alone so that when support comes, it multiplies you instead of owning you. There is a difference. Weak men need support as oxygen. Strong men use support as acceleration. If help comes after you have built leverage, you can accept it without surrendering command. If a mentor appears after you have proof, you can ask sharper questions. If a network opens after you have value, you enter as an asset, not a burden. If a partner helps after you have options, you can collaborate without kneeling emotionally. That is the right order. Build first. Then accept support from strength, not desperation. Because help received from desperation often becomes a chain. Help received from leverage can become an alliance. Only fools reject useful alliances. Powerful men use alliances. They use networks. They use partnerships. They use mentors. They use markets. They use distribution. They use capital. But they do not use them from helplessness. They use them from position. That is the line. Do not become the man who romanticizes struggle because he has no other identity. Do not worship being unsupported. Use it, convert it, turn it into discipline, turn it into skill, turn it into proof, turn it into money, turn it into reputation, turn it into options, turn it into options, turn it into freedom. Then, when the world finally comes closer, you will not be desperate for its approval. You will evaluate it. Does this help the mission? Does this multiply leverage? Does this preserve sovereignty? Does this person support my rise without trying to own my direction? These are the questions of a man who has built himself, not the questions of a beggar. The beggar asks, "Will you help me?" The sovereign asks, "Does this alliance serve the throne?" That is the final transformation, from abandoned to self-commanded, from unsupported to unowned, from invisible to undeniable, from needing rescue to becoming the asset. If you are serious, do not let this remain a video you watched and forgot. Many men are addicted to consuming hard truths because it gives them the feeling of movement without the cost of movement. They watch, they nod, they feel seen. Then nothing changes. If you continue like that, your ambition will become entertainment. Your pain will become content. Your future will remain a theory. Inside Patreon, I go deeper into the unfiltered principles behind power, leverage, discipline, and human nature. Not the softened version, not the public version designed for casual viewers. The deeper material is for men who want to stop drifting and start operating with structure. If you want to truly change, enter the space where the work becomes sharper. If you are only here to feel something, stay where you are. But if you are serious about becoming harder to control, then act like a serious man. The decision is yours. Power is not in demanding commitment. Power is in making the choice revealed a man. So stop looking at your lack of support only as a wound. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it slowed you. Yes, it forced you to carry weight alone. Yes, it made you watch other men receive what you had to earn through pressure. Yes, it made you question whether you were forgotten, underestimated, or invisible. But it also gave you something. No masters. No claimants. No inherited leash. No one standing behind your success saying, "I own a piece of that." If you build it alone, hold it like a king. If you earn the proof, protect it. If you built the skill, sharpen it. If you created the money, command it. If you formed the reputation, guard it. If you created options, never hand them away cheaply, because the world will test you again. When you are weak, it ignores you. When you are rising, it watches you. When you become useful, it approaches you. And when you become powerful, it tries to attach itself to what you built. The same people who doubted you may return with advice. The same people who ignored you may return with opinions. The same people who offered nothing in your beginning may speak as if they always saw your potential. The same world that left you alone when you were building may suddenly want a place beside the throne. Do not hate them. Study them. Human nature is not always loyal to truth. It is often loyal to advantage. Many people do not support the seed. They support the tree after it has shade. They do not believe in the foundation. They gather when the structure is visible. They do not clap for the discipline. They appear for the outcome. This is why you must remember who you were before the applause. Remember the silence. Remember the empty room. Remember the years when nobody made the call. Not so you can become bitter, but so you can remain sober. A sober man does not confuse late admiration with early loyalty. A sober man does not surrender direction because people finally noticed him. A sober man does not become addicted to the approval that arrived after proof. He receives attention without becoming owned by it. That is sovereignty. The throne is not the applause. The throne is command. Command over your choices. Command over your standards. Command over your direction. Command over your hunger. Command over your need to be validated by people who were never qualified to judge you in the first place. No support did not make you powerless. It removed the illusion that someone was coming. And once that illusion dies, a man can finally begin. Because the most dangerous man is not the man with the most help. It is the man who no longer needs permission to move. The man who has trained himself in silence. The man who has built proof without applause. The man who has learned to create value under pressure. The man who has turned rejection into precision. The man who has stopped begging the world to see him and started building until blindness becomes expensive. That man is difficult to own. He may accept alliances, but he does not kneel for them. He may receive help, but he does not surrender his direction. He may listen to counsel, but he does not hand over command. He may work with others, but he remembers the throne was built through his own discipline. Support can lift you, but it can also own you. And if no one helped you build it, no one owns a piece of it. If no one lifted you up, no one gets to claim the throne.